Hello everyone, welcome to the video. So, stop solving random LeetCode problems. Do this instant. Yes, you have heard this right. If you are preparing for coding interviews, you might think that the best strategy is to open the LeetCode every day, pick a problem, and solve it and repeat. But here is a problem with this approach. You can solve 100, 300, even 500 problem and still struggle when an interviewer gives you something you have never seen before. So in this video I am going to show you a better system, and by the end you will have a simple framework you can actually follow. Before we continue, let's make this interactive. Be honest, how many LeetCode problem you have solved till now? If it's been 50, your option is A. If it's 50 to 150, then your option is B. And if the option is C, have you crossed it 300? So take a second and choose it one. Here's the important part. Don't worry about the number, because the next question matters much more. So you solved 300 problems, and that's a lot. Now you're sitting in an interview. The interviewer gives you a problem you have never seen before. What happens at that particular time? Do you immediately start thinking about the solution? Or do you start asking yourself, have I seen this problem before? What was the solution? Maybe I saw something similar on LeetCode, and suddenly you don't know where to start. If you have experienced these things, then you are not alone. And this is where the real problem begins. The problem isn't always that you have solved too few problems. Sometimes the problem is how you learned these problems. You solved one problem, learned one solution, and then you move to another completely unrelated problem. Actually, you are trying to collect all the solution inside your brain, but you didn't actually build connections between them. And that's what we are going to change, because the goal is not to remember more and more answers. The goal is to recognize the patterns. Let's compare two approaches. On the left hand side, you have solved 100 random problems and you end up with roughly 100 individual solutions. And on the right hand side, you solve only 20 problems, but those 20 problems teach you 5 different important patterns. And each pattern has multiple variation. Now here's the question. Which approach do you think will help more when you see a completely new problem? Definitely the second one. Because you're not trying to remember an exact solution, you're trying to recognize something familiar inside something new. And thus that's much more transferable skill. So let's test this idea. What should you optimize? Number of problems solved, number of pattern recognized, or number of hours you have spent starting at LeetCode? Take your seconds and then answer yourself. Actually, the answer should be B. Your goal should be to increase the number of pattern you can recognize without help, because that's what allow you to attack unfamiliar problems. So what should you actually do? You need a system. Number one, you have to follow a system instead of randomly picking problems. Number two, focus on the patterns. Number three, solve each problem with a specific purpose. And number four, improve yourself step by step. From this point forward, don't look at LeetCode as a list of thousands of questions. Think of it as a collection of patterns that you need to learn. So step 1, you have to pick up one pattern. Let's take an example of sliding window over here. Instead of solving one sliding window problem today and then jumping to dynamic programming tomorrow, stay with the sliding window problem. Start with fixed size windows, then variable size windows, then frequency maps, and then shrinking windows, then at most k, then and finally exactly k. Spend a few days understand the pattern deeply. Your objective is not to memorize a template. It's important to understand when and why the pattern works. Now let's test your pattern recognition. Imagine the problem says find the longest contiguous substring. What pattern comes to your mind? DFS, sliding window, or heap? So the answer should be sliding window. Sliding window is one of the first pattern you should consider when you see problems involving contiguous ranges. especially when you're looking for a longest or shortest ranges. And that's exactly the skill we are trying to develop. Next, the step 2, which is learning the cues. When you see words like contiguous array, contiguous subarray, or substrings, you should start thinking about possible window based techniques like longest, shortest, maximum, minimum, at most k, exactly k. These aren't automatic answers, they are clues, and your job is to connect those clues to the possible patterns. That's the difference between memorizing solutions and developing pattern recognition. The goal is simple: recognize, think, and then apply. Step 3: solve. Don't randomly pick problem. Solve them in levels. For example, level 1, which is easy problem. Your goal is simply to understand the basic pattern. Level 2, medium problems. Now introduce additional constraints. And level 3, which is of hard problems. Here you might need to combine the pattern with another technique. Think of it like going to the gym. You wouldn't start with the heaviest weight on day 1. You progressively increase the difficulty. Do the same thing with the DSA. Now here's the question arise. What do you do when you are stuck? Do you immediately open the solution, or do you keep staring at the screen for 2 hours? Or do you have a better system? The answer I recommend is C. Time box, learn and recall. That's what brings up to the 3 pass method. So if you are following the 3 pass method, understand, give yourself around 20 to 30 minutes. Try the problem yourself, find the brute force approach, and that time then ask yourself, what is making this slow? What is the bottleneck of this problem? Even if you don't solve the problem, you have already done useful work. Then pass 2, learn. If you are stuck with the Now if you are stuck, check the editorial or solution. But don't just copy the code. You have to understand the idea, then close the solution and implement it yourself. Finally, last and least, pass 3, recall. Come back later, maybe after 1 day, after 1 week, or after 1 month, and solve it again without looking. That's where the learning becomes much stronger. Next is memory test. You should when you should revisit a problem: tomorrow, next week, next month. Actually, all three. 1 day, then 1 week, then 1 month. The idea is simple. Don't just read the solution, because recognizing something you have seen before is very different from actually being able to reproduce the approach yourself. Build a DSA, build your DSA roadmap. Now you need a roadmap. You can move through areas such as arrays, two pointers, sliding windows, hashing, binary search, stack, linked list, trees, heap, graphs, backtracking, dynamic programming. You don't have to master everything at once. Pick one topic like master it. Pick one topic like arrays, master it, then solve variations, and then move forward. How many problems should you solve? So 100, 300, 500,000. Here's my advice. Don't just aim for a number, aim for understanding. Because 500 problems you have forgotten aren't very useful. Instead, aim to reach the point where you can see a new problem and recognize the underlying pattern. That should be the real target. Quality over quantity. So let's make this practical. Suppose you are learning sliding window. You could start with 3 easy problems. The goal should be build the basics, then solve around 5 medium problems. Now you are dealing with the variations, different constraints, different conditions. The important thing is progression. By the end, ask yourself, if I see a completely new problem, can I recognize a sliding window might be useful? If yes, then you are actually making a real progress. Now let's turn everything into a weekly routine. Monday to Tuesday, learn one pattern. Wednesday and Thursday, you can learn solve 3 to 5 problems. And on Friday, solve one unfamiliar problem. This is important because now you're testing whether you can recognize the pattern without being told what it is. And on Saturdays or weekends, resolve old problems. Don't look at your previous codes, and Sunday, review your notes and patterns. That's it. A simple weekly system. You don't need to solve random problem every single day. You need deliberate practice. I also recommend keeping a simple pattern journal. For every problem, write down the problem, the pattern, the key observation, the mistake you have made, the time and space complexity, and finally, can I solve the problem again without any help? The last question is extremely important because solving something doesn't mean you have mastered it. Your mistakes are actually valuable information. If you have repeatedly make the mistake, you have just discovered exactly what you need to improve. If you follow this system consistently, you will start noticing four things: pattern recognitions, faster problem solving, more confidence in your interviews, and long term DSA growth. The biggest change is the new problem wouldn't feel completely random anymore, and you will start seeing familiar structures inside unfamiliar questions. And that's exactly what we want. Okay, stop for a second. Let's see if you remember the entire system. There are four things. Number one, pick up pattern. Number two, learn the cues. Number three, solve in levels. And number four, understand, learn, and recall. If you remember all the four without looking back, good. You have got the framework. Now here's the mindset I want you to take away. Don't aim for 1,000 problems. Aim to reach a point where you see a problem you have never seen before. Maybe you have seen the pattern before, maybe you have similar constraints, but the important thing is you should know where to start. That's actually a real DSA progress. Before you solve your next LeetCode problem, I want you to ask yourself one more question. How many problems I have solved? What's the solution? What pattern am I learning from this problem? Pause for a moment and actually think about it. Because if you start asking yourself the question consistently, your entire approach to LeetCode changes. Focus on patterns, master DSA, don't memorize thousands of problems. The goal is to become someone who can look at a new problem, break it down, recognize the pattern, and know where to start. And that's now you actually get good at DSA. Thanks for the video and thanks for viewing. I hope it helps.